Hey, get inspired, everybody. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Life Inspired. If you've never tuned in before, this is a show about how and why people are following Jesus Christ. And so basically we talk about life was going along. There's a ... and then God stepped in and did something in your life and turned you to a new inspired walk with Him. And so what does that look like? So we are going to have a conversation today with my very, very, very dear friend, Kristi Ryan. This is a woman, you guys, that is just lights up a room when you walk into it. You have just been an inspiration to me and so many other people. I don't know if you know that.
Well, that's very nice of you to say.
Yeah, so I want to hear all about what is life like for you before a turning point? What's your backstory?
Well, that's interesting because currently my backstory is that I have been battling breast cancer since 2008. And that really got my attention.
11 years.
Yeah, but honestly, as I think about the turning point, God has been knocking on my door for years. And I'm so glad He didn't stop because it even goes back to 1991 when I got in this really bad car accident. And I was in a hurry on my way to work. I had
Were you already selling real estate at that
Yes,
time?
I started in 1989, so it's been 30 years. But
wow.
Anyway, so I'm on my way to a meeting, and it was in the middle of January 15th. It was my middle daughter's second birthday.
Oh.
And I was late, so she's in the back all buckled, Cole's in the front, just with this seatbelt over his legs because strong-willed child, and I'm not a very strong mom, so I was like, fine, at least you're buckled up. Anyway, that was before seatbelts were even mandatory. So,
wow.
And I happened to buckle up that day, and I didn't usually buckle up.
Wow.
Well, anyway, it was really, really icy and so foggy you could not see in front of your car. All I knew is, okay, slow down, slow down, slow down. McKinley's coming up. Well, all of a sudden, boom, there's a stop sign, and I slam on my brakes, and the last thing I remember was, oh God, don't let any cars be coming. Well, there was a car coming. Come to find out, I wake up in the hospital and everybody's okay. I had some broken ribs and hip and some cuts and stuff, but my car was totaled and they had to use the jaws to get me out. Well,
and you were unconscious during
yeah,
all
I
that,
didn't know
so
any
you
of
didn't
it.
even know. Wow.
I didn't know any of it. But this is where God stepped in. So that was in January, and then that Easter, which was probably March or April, I get a letter from a lady named Shirley. And it was a card. It was an Easter card. And back up and say that my Dennis and I wanted to get a church. We just kept thinking, we want to get closer to God. We want to get a relationship, but we just didn't do it. Just didn't do it.
Right.
Let life take over. Anyway, so bottom line is she writes me a letter or a card and says that she was there that day. She saw the whole thing happen. She explained to me everything that happened. So the only reason I know what happened is because of what she
told
said.
you. Wow.
And she said that my car was so mangled, people wouldn't even go look at it. And there was no movement in the car at all. So they were afraid to look in the car, and there's 2 nursing students were on their way to nursing school, and they wouldn't get out. Well, she was on her way she works for a pastor, and she was his secretary. So she got out of the car, she came over, I wasn't moving, she called her pastor. So they must have been cell phones then, this was in 91, just flip phones, I'm sure. But she called her pastor, and she prayed. She said, we prayed for you for over 20 minutes, and you started to move. And she said, I really feel like we broke the power of death over you. And I think that you need to be thankful to Jesus Christ for that. And I was like, just bawling my eyes off, like, oh, I can't believe this lady took the time to find me. She didn't know me from Adam, so she must have gotten my address from the newspaper. But,
wow.
She listened to God, and she did what she felt she should do, which was a huge turning point. You'd think that would have been enough for me. Well, I was busy in work, trying to balance, all these hats and
selling
everything.
houses and being a mom and being a wife.
Exactly. Then I had another child, and then I had huge postpartum depression. Another knocking point.
Oh, wow.
God just kept knocking on my door. He's like, hello, Kristi, let me in. And this was such a weird thing. I don't know if you ever dealt with depression.
I did
Yeah, so if you have, you can understand. But a lot of people that have never dealt with it, they don't get it. And I didn't get it before that.
Right.
I could not imagine how you would not have any hope, or not be able to see the future, or not be able to see what tomorrow would be like. But it was a really scary feeling. I dealt with that for several months, and then all the while, God was just orchestrating all of this behind the scenes things where we ended up, during that time, found River Valley Church, which we've been going to for 26 years now.
Wow.
And so, and it just was I was starting to understand the love of Jesus, and it just was another huge turning point for me. And that year is probably when Dennis and I started getting serious. We started small groups, things like that. Well, not regularly. We weren't real good at going all the time, but it was there.
But
so
you finally did it, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
then fast forward, so that's 93. Fast forward to 2007, and Christmas time, I found a lump, and I was like, "Oh, that's not normal." And then I immediately, in a flash, I thought, "Oh, everything's different. Priorities are different." All of a sudden, it was like I could care less about, because we were like, let's go shopping, let's get some good deals. It's the 2 days after Christmas, and it just was like, that is what it took. God had to pull that rug out from under me and allow me to go through something that I had no control over. Like,
Right.
I couldn't control my illness or sickness.
Right.
And really, that was it. In 2008, I went through the whole year of, treatments and
Right.
mastectomy and double mastectomy and chemo and radiation. And by the end of the year, I was so excited to be done that I could start to eat again and get my taste buds back and grow my hair out, and all was good. And really, that's when the things changed. But then again, in 2014, right before my middle daughter got married, I was having some pains, and lo and behold, the cancer was in my bones. So it's like, oh. Now, my doctor at that time told me I could live a long time. I said, oh, great. Well, what's a long time? Well, you could live a couple years. I'm thinking,
That's
not a long
to
time.
a doctor? Wow.
Well, to her, it was, and maybe I misunderstood it, but she said 2 years. And all of a sudden after that, I heard nothing else. So
Yeah,
bottom
right.
line is, that was in 14. This is 2020. And I'm still here.
Yep. Thank you,
And I
God.
don't want to miss anything that God has in store for me. I
Right.
just want people to know, you hear that cancer word, it's not a death sentence. Do not let them scare you just because they say you have a terminal illness. We're all terminal.
Absolutely,
We could get hit
for
tomorrow.
sure.
We could
For sure.
get hit crossing the road,
For sure.
So let's don't waste any time.
Right.
And so I guess I had 3 times that God, like I say, many, many more in the middle of it, he knocked on my door, and I just didn't answer until he pulled the rug out. I was like, oh, well, you're not going to have any control over this one.
Right,
So really,
right.
that's kind of my story.
Wow, that's awesome. Very
Yeah.
cool. So, a lot of times people will tell me like what you do to stay inspired every day. So now that you're like really, okay, God, yeah, I want you in charge.
Mm-hmm.
How do you connect with him? How do you listen to him? If he's in charge, are
Right.
you listening to him to tell you what to do for the day? What does that look like?
Well, in fact, I know a lot of people might think I'm crazy, but I know that those of us who have given up control know that, I'm sure you get it.
We don't have control
well,
anyway.
I know,
I
but-
can't keep my
yeah,
heart beating.
I know,
can't make my
exactly.
lungs still work.
But
You know
we
what I
think
mean?
we do.
Right,
But
right.
so what I do is every single morning, I say a prayer as soon as I open my eyes. And it was a prayer that I got from Chuck Swindoll. And I won't remember the whole prayer because I'm,
Cancer
still
brain.
got chemo brain. Yeah. But anyway, every morning I say it. And it's basically asking the Holy Spirit to fill me with the Spirit so that I can literally take control of the power, and that God will take control of my life every day and help me just to be more loving, learn what I'm doing wrong. And so that prepares my heart. And then I'm so fortunate because I don't have a job where I have to be at 8 a.m. and I don't have to rush around in the morning. So I have an appointment with God every morning.
Wow.
Well, my appointment's at 10 a.m.
That's awesome.
Yes, but sometimes, when we start to get really busy again, it'll be earlier. But if I don't do that, I feel like my days just doesn't go right if I don't
So
have that
so
time.
on your calendar, you just have a time set that right now in January it's at 10 a.m. And so
It
you
just says meet with God.
meet with God.
And
And what
it's-
does that look like? What does meeting with God look like?
Meeting with God, for me, it's not just reading the Bible. It's, of course, praying about it beforehand so that I will be able to understand whatever
What
I'm
you read.
reading.
Okay.
And for me to listen, I have to pray for that all the time, because I think that we don't just pray at one time and say,
Right.
oh, it's all good, we're going to listen all the time.
Right.
We have to prepare our minds and our hearts
Right.
every time we are, well, all the time, even during the day,
Right.
shooting up prayers to God. So what I'll do is I have a devotion that I read. This year I'm starting a new one called New Mercies.
Cool.
And our church is doing a Bible study called F260, and it's the whole church is on target to do this.
Cool.
And we don't just read the Bible. We take a verse and we highlight what it means. We write down what it is. We explain what it means to us and what kind of action we can get to it. So it's a little bit more interactive than just reading it and saying, okay,
I read that.
Yeah.
Right.
And how many times have we read the same thing?
Right.
Like, right now we're in Job, and
Ooh,
Job
that's
is
a tough book.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just thinking, oh, I've already read all this, and so, but I read it again because I thought, well, maybe the Lord will show me something. And really, it was all about control,
Really?
And so Job, and he never ever gave up on God, even though his friends and everybody said, "What did you do?" But and so we can learn from these
Right.
long time ago people.
Right.
And so really that's what I do. And I get to have sometimes like an hour. But for people who don't get that, even just having a devotion where you read it and then look up the verse. See, that's what I find. Then I look up the verse and then it'll give me a word. I don't know the word. Then I'll ask Siri what the word means. And then it leads me to another verse. The next thing you know, I'm really diving in, which
That's really cool.
feel that really satisfies my desire to know more. And the word just, I get so excited.
That's
Like,
cool. Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to the time I get so busy that I'll have to,
Right.
Well,
I love that Bible verse that says the Word of God is living and active. Like
Yes.
it's different every time you read. Like today, this verse means this to me, but 6 months from now, if I read that same verse again, it means
Yeah.
something different because I'm going through something different.
Yeah.
And so it means something different to
That's
me
true.
because So I love that. That's awesome.
yeah, that's true.
So yeah, so viewers, thank you guys so much for watching Kristi's story. I know that if you have questions, if maybe you've just found out that you have cancer or a loved one, something like that, I know Kristi would meet with you about that or about how to study the Bible. So if you want to have coffee, you better do it quick because she's going to be too busy in the spring selling season.
Well, I wouldn't say about how to study the Bible, but
Well,
but I'd be
just
happy
to
to talk
chat with
about
you, yeah.
the ups and downs of cancer and the whole thing, and
Yeah.
just whatever.
Yep. Yep.
I'm here to help, here to
Yep.
serve. Just
Yep.
that's what we're all on earth for.
That's right. We're just
Yeah.
here for others.
Yep,
Yeah, we're not
exactly.
here for our own story, just for others. So
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you know somebody that needs to hear Kristi's story, please share it. You can share it from our Facebook page. If you'd like our page, that'd be great. Our YouTube channel, if you'd subscribe, that'd be great. And you can share the story from there, or you can find it on inspiredhomes.com. So yeah, that's how to share it. And if you know somebody else that has a story that would impact others, please let us know that so we can put them on the red couch and let them share their story. So thanks for watching. You guys have a great week. Bye-bye.